was thinking last night when Massey lost in Kentucky, I was thinking back to Trump's inauguration, the morning of the Trump inauguration, which amazingly was only last year, last January, January 20th. And I was in Washington for that, and Trump invited me to church on the morning before he was sworn in. And so, of course, I went. And it was at St. John's, the Episcopal Church in Lafayette Square, where pretty much every president has gone on the morning of the inauguration. So I showed up. Happens to be my denomination, the Episcopal Church, so I know the church pretty well. I know people who work there. So I was pretty excited about going and saying a prayer for this presidency. So I'm standing outside at maybe 6:45 in the morning, and it is freezing. And if you've been to Washington in the winter, you know it's mostly pretty temperate, but the cold days are very cold. And there's something about the cold in a city that is biting. Even if you like cold, it's tough. And this was probably 12 degrees and windy. And I remember that very well because we were standing in line, in a security line, waiting to go through the magnetometer, and the Secret Service was there. It was a whole rigmarole and dogs, and they were taking forever. It's not their fault, but the protocols are complex. And it was awful staying there. We were kind of stamping our feet and grousing. Not many people. It was a pretty small church service, but the people who were standing in line were like, let's get going and get into church. And as we're standing there feeling freezing, waiting to be searched by federal law enforcement, a woman brushed by me on the left side, kind of walking fast. Older woman, not very tall, and I recognized her. And it was Miriam Adelson. And she blew past me and everybody else in line and went right to the front, right to the magnetometer, announced who she was, and walked on in. And I thought to myself, Miriam Adelson, who I know vaguely, not really, but I knew that she was the biggest or one of the biggest donors to the Trump campaign. An Israeli, born in Israel, widow of Sheldon Adelson, the biggest Republican donor, the casino magnate, but more than anything, a fervent neocon. Her main issue is American support for Israel. She says this, it's not a secret, and she spends accordingly. And she brushes past me, I remember thinking this, and everybody else, and just walks right in like she owns the place. And I remember thinking, I hope this isn't an omen. I hope it's not a sign of things to come. It feels a little bit like a metaphor. I hope that's not real. So I kind of sublimated it, tried not to think about it, finally got into church, sat alone in a pew with Charlie Kirk, had a great time. We were both almost jubilant, really, that Trump had been elected. We didn't think he would, but he did. And we were thrilled, not just because we liked Trump, which we did, because he's hilarious and fun to talk to and interesting, but because he ran on ideas that we agreed with really strongly. And first among them was the idea, self-evident really, that the U.S. government ought to serve, in fact, it exists to serve the interests of American citizens. And it really has no other role in the world. Doesn't mean it has to strike a bellicose posture toward anyone else. Hurting other people isn't necessary, but helping your own people is the only reason you exist if you're the U.S. government or one of its many employees. And the American president should proceed from that commitment. I am here to serve my people, as a father does with his children, an officer with his men, etc. That's leadership. Service to the people you lead, and a love for those people. And both of us were convinced at the time that Donald Trump was that man, that he was truly America first. And because he was, this would be a great moment for our country, a much needed relief from a worldview that put America at the bottom.
So just one thing that really caught me is I think it's a dangerous slippery slope for sure when he says that being the president is like a father with his kids. Like, I think that could be dangerous because what it is, in my opinion, is that you serve the people and you kind of should be working for us. So I don't think that it's the same dynamics as a father with his children. But I don't know. What do you think about that, guys? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Like, do you think that your president should be like a father figure to you? Or should he be there to just do his job, which is to administer things? Let's talk about it, guys.
Of its concerns. But that would also change the Republican Party, which was meaningful because the Republican Party, along with Trump, had just taken total control of the country. Both houses in Congress, House and Senate, the White House, majority of the Supreme Court appointed by Republicans. The Republicans were in charge, and we hoped, and at the moment we believed, that the Republican Party would change along with Trump, its new leader, and that it would change in one specific way. It would come to put the concerns of Americans first. period. That's it. We can argue about how best to serve them, but serving them has to be the goal. And so we imagine, Charlie Kirk and I, we may have talked about this in the pew, that we would see the Republican Party suddenly populated by a lot of people like Thomas Massie. I can't remember if we actually talked about Thomas Massie, but we had before, and Charlie Kirk had talked a lot about Thomas Massie. And Charlie Kirk loved Thomas Massie, not just as a person because he was honest and decent, but because Thomas Massie's orientation was purely about what's best for the country. And again, he said it many times, including in this representative interview of Thomas Massie. Here's Charlie Kirk.
He loves liberty. He's honest and he's tough, and he's going to really go after the intel agencies. It's Thomas Massie, who's just terrific, from Kentucky. Congressman Massie, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Charlie.
This might sound like a strange question, but I know it's on everybody's mind. You're going to be on the committee that will oversee the most powerful institutions on the planet, the FBI, the CIA, maybe the IRS. Are you concerned for your own safety and or what they might try to do to blackmail you?
Oh, absolutely. By the way, you're not qualified to be on this committee if you don't realize that there will be an effort to discredit me.
It's poignant and honestly kind of fascinating in retrospect to hear Charlie Kirk express alarm at the behavior of the intel agencies. Are you afraid they're going to kill you or blackmail you? He says to Thomas Massie. Charlie Kirk was thinking about that.
Do you guys have anything to say about the Thomas Massie losing his seat in Congress? And what do you think that had to do with? I for one, I have some suspicions, which I'm gonna keep it to myself, and we'll keep playing the Tucker Carlson show here. But I want to hear from you guys in the chat. What do you think was responsible for Thomas Massie losing his seat? Or what do you think at least contributed the most to it?
It was only 8 months after the inauguration, less than, that Charlie Kirk, of course, was murdered, assassinated in public in a very, very strange shooting. And at around the same time, Donald Trump pivoted from the promises that we at the time believed to become something completely different. It would have been unimaginable for us sitting in those pews at St. John's across from the White House on the morning of the inauguration to picture Donald Trump covering up the Epstein files, encouraging more secrecy, encouraging more surveillance, more spying on Americans, to be encouraging data centers across the country to abet that surveillance. And above all, it would have been stunning for us. In fact, we wouldn't have been able to comprehend it that morning in January of last year, that Donald Trump would be cheerleading a regime change war in the Middle East against Iran, of all Middle Eastern nations, the biggest and most powerful. Because both of us understood the point of Donald Trump, and the reason that we supported him was because he would never do anything like that. That morning,
guys, let's talk about this actually. What do you guys think happened to Donald Trump? Because honestly, I believe that at one point he seemed to have America's and Americans' best interest at heart. But somewhere along the line, something happened. Do you guys think it's the Epstein files, something to do with that? Do you think that our boy is being blackmailed? And that's why he's just kind of taking a 180 on his true supporters. I don't know what happened to him, but he definitely seems like he's turned. A part of me also suspects that he's always been like this and part of the whole gang. But then how do you explain the way they really tried to stop him from winning that election? Right? They even made attempts at his life. So I don't know how you can explain that. It doesn't really make sense to me. But I'm curious, why would they want to stop him so badly from being president if they know that he's going to have their back, right? So I think something changed somewhere along the lines with DJT. But anyways, let's talk about it in the chat, guys.
The morning of the inauguration, both Charlie Kirk and I believed that Donald Trump had meant what he said in speech after speech, in public, in conversations with us, endless conversations with both of us on this exact topic. And so if you're trying now to remember the Donald Trump that we thought was real on the morning of the inauguration, here's a reminder. This is a speech that Trump gave in 2020.
Biden shipped away our jobs, threw open our borders, and sent our youth to fight in these crazy, endless wars. And it's one of the reasons the military, I'm not saying the military is in love with me, the soldiers are. The top people in the Pentagon probably aren't, because they want to do nothing but fight wars so that all of those wonderful companies that make the bombs and make the planes and make everything else stay happy. Let's bring our soldiers back home.
So DJT is literally doubling down right now. So that's what I mean by the total 180, right? He seemed to be like, bring them back home, bring them back home. But now, like, there's never been a bigger warmonger than him. So I think something happened with DJT. I think the guys might have been compromised somewhere along the line.
Some people like to continue to spend money. One cold-hearted globalist betrayal after another, and that's what it was.
One cold-hearted globalist betrayal after another. That's what it was. And he was right. That's exactly what it was. One cold-hearted globalist betrayal after another. Betrayals of the United States and its future, the future of our children, including the children that your children may not have because of those betrayals. Charlie Kirk was very upset about this. He was articulate in explaining why he was upset about it. And he sincerely believed that Trump would change it. Trump and people like Thomas Massie. It's hard to imagine what he would think about the remarks that Donald Trump, the same man that he voted for and campaigned for and went to pray for in the church the morning of the inauguration, what he would have thought of the Donald Trump on display yesterday when he said this. Watch.
I'm right now at 99% in Israel. I could run for prime minister. So maybe after I do this, I'll go to Israel, run for prime minister. I had a poll this morning. I'm 99%. So that's good.
The president of the United States.
Imagine that, though. Like, imagine being elected, or like, imagine getting a job as like as a CEO of a company. And then you're like bragging about like how you could go to another company and they would treat you probably better. Like, what do you think the current company you're with would do? Like, I don't know why it seems like as a president, you can just say whatever you want, act however you want with like no consequences. Like, why is that the case with presidents? You would think that with higher responsibilities and power, then they should be even held to higher standards and higher standards of accountability. So why does it seem to be that it's less? And then we, like the populace, we can't even step out of line a little bit. Like, we'll quickly be slapped back into place. So I guess like that's just how it is, right? It's a power, right? It's a world of power. So the most powerful just climb over everybody else and thump their chest, pretty much.